me a little bit, how did you get started playing? And tell me a little bit like the beginning of your journey.
Um, I started out just picking out tunes by ear on the piano. That's how I started in music, and gradually worked my way up to playing chords and like bass notes in the right hand in octaves. And I was learning to play chord progressions and things like that. And that was all on piano. Um, and when I was about 12, I wanted to learn to play the guitar because we had guitars, and there weren't a lot of distractions back in those days. There weren't a lot of things to do. And we lived in the country, and I was bored. And so I wanted to learn to play the guitar. It was there. And so I had my grandpa, whose guitar I now have. He showed me G, C, and D. And I just played those chords. And I could play G, C, D, and A minor, and E minor, and A. And I started learning to play F, and it was hard. And I had a really hard guitar to play. But my dad showed me another thing. In addition to those chords, he showed me that if you play this F chord like this, and just only play the notes that your fingers are actually touching, and don't play the open strings, just play that. And then you could play that and move it around and get different chords. Like, ooh, so I can have this chord and that. Now all of a sudden I can play a dozen more chords than I could before. And he said, you could also take this, the C shape, the shape of C, but you put your finger there like that instead. I didn't even know it was a C7. It's just like, it's a C, but you have to put your finger there so that you have all four of these strings, and you can move that around. So I had two shapes, the F shape and the C shape. And he told me that if you're playing a song and the main chord, like where it starts, because I was playing in church and everything was country style hymns with 3 chords, maybe 4. And it was all 1, 4, and 5. And it would always start on the 1 and end on the 1. So whatever the chord, the first chord is, if you can find it, you have to hunt around for it. But when you find it, then the other 2 chords will be that other one, the other shape, and it'll be 2 frets apart like that. And somehow that made sense, and I practiced it, and I could do like that. And if you can do that, then you can do any song. And sometimes it would put me way up high. And he said, well, if it's too high, then you try to make the other chord be the first chord. And then the other 2 chords would be here and here. Somehow he had figured that out. He didn't play guitar much at all. He wasn't much of a guitar player. And I don't think he even did that very much. That was just something somebody showed him. But he knew enough of that to show me. And then, so every Sunday morning, every Sunday night, every Wednesday night, for years, I would be, sitting and playing, and the worship wasn't just like 3 or 4 songs. I mean, it would go on and on and on sometimes. And I'm just playing acoustic guitar. And I just picked up from that, hearing 1, 4, and 5 and different chord progressions, and got really good at that. I mean, that, by the time I was doing other things, my ear was pretty good. My harmonic ear, I could hear chord progressions pretty good from that. And that's how I got started on guitar. And then I just played chords for a number of years until I was in 9th grade, and we moved to a different state. We moved to Louisiana, to Monroe from Tennessee. And there were other guys that played guitar in bands, and they were on stage and they played in the talent show. And I was like, I want to do that. Football, that wasn't going to get me any notoriety for sure, because that's really the only sport that really mattered there, it seemed.
Yeah,
football.
that's right.
And I couldn't play football. So that was out. Being just cool and good looking wasn't going to work for me. Just being charismatic and suave and dressing nice and having nice things because we had money, that wasn't going to work. So the only thing I could figure out that was going to make me in the least bit cool was doing what those guys were doing, that had electric guitars and were in a band. And I'm like, I want to do that because I could be cool, and maybe people would think I was something more than just a dork, I think it worked, it gave me some respect. People were like, you're this and this and that and that and that, and those are not good things, but you're a good guitar player.
Yeah.
That was at least something. That was the first time there was a but, you know, at least among my peers. So that got me into really seriously trying to play. So that was the brief story on how I kind of got into playing the guitar.
Okay. Awesome.